There are two experiences that I've had that I believe fall in the polling mantra that's part of the Inspiring Diversity movement. And one of them starts with my presidency serving on the National Association of Minorities in Cable. And this is in early 90s where there was a big diversity problem in the cable industry. There was no real ownership in the business. Executive management, board positions, all were lacking diversity for people of color as well as women. And so I was head of this organization that in some ways was supposed to be really helping that initiative move forward. And so part of that was, how do I utilize my access, because I was an executive, to help others? And there are others in that industry that had the credentials and the experience to take on bigger roles, but just needed that access and exposure. So when I think about polling, and I think that a major part of polling is, how have you influenced others, or how have you helped others? One of the great moments was in 1997, we had a conference in New Orleans. And this was one of the hot topics. I was hosting a breakfast, which was going to attract all the top players, all the top owners in the business, and certainly a lot of people of color and women, all in one room. I invited Jesse Jackson to come be our keynote speaker. This was prior to any controversy or issues with the Reverend. He was very much a voice, and still is, around fairness and equity and diversity. So when I called him, he accepted the invitation. I then got very nervous and said, boy, I better speak with him prior to the event. I want to prep him because I still work in the industry and I didn't want him to say anything that may compromise my own job. But I just also wanted to make sure he wouldn't be caught off guard and be properly prepared. I asked him to meet with me for dinner the night before. He turned me down. He said, no, no need, I'm good. I had a guy working for me that his aunt owned a restaurant in New Orleans called Dookie Chase, and I asked my assistant to call Jesse back in his office and ask him if he would meet me at Dookie Chase. Turns out it's his favorite restaurant in New Orleans. So I got a chance to have dinner with him that evening, and I walked him through what I thought were the important aspects of this diversity issue we were having with cable. And he delivered a speech that next morning that was riveting, on point, and literally helped the industry understand what was at stake. But more importantly was the action he took. The action he took was he created two things: the Wall Street Project, but also he had a strategy to help these companies. He bought stock in all of these cable industry companies for one reason, so he could show up at these shareholder meetings and really influence sort of the thinking. It worked. A lot of the companies, a lot of those who were providing service embraced diversity, started hiring diversity officers, putting in strategies, and we saw that industry become much more diverse than ever in its history. So it helped others, it showed leadership, it showed all of the real key principles of polling.